cigarettes. Be courageous. Don't let to think about it, because still you don't are getting to stop how much you hear about and what the process of cigarettes make in your body. It's better you suffer now to stop that don't have importance if you are so much years. Had a man that have 20 years practicing, used drugs and stopped it, and turned a physioculturist, excellent, with health. They had courage, and 20 years with drugs is the same of 50 years with cigarettes. It's possible to stop, but you need arguments. Then continue here. Question, we know creatures that have managed to live up to 100 years, 100 years, even though they smoke continuously. How can this be explained? Although there are cases of creatures living up to 100 years, smoking and demonstrating good health, as in the case of the peasants and African slaves of colonial Brazil. Smoking is always terrible enemy of humankind. Undoubtedly, most of humanity can satisfactorily immunize itself against its pernicious effects. We see no sensible reason to smoke and suffer the consequences of tobacco simply because same exceptions are noted in creatures who, although smoke excessively, still enjoyed good health. It's common sense that organic resistance vary from individual to individual, vary from individual to individual, which is why the most sensible thing is still not to smoke. Why the most sensible thing is still not to smoke. All organic lesions are affected by the poisons of smoke. Those with heart conditions in particular are among the greatest victims of nicotine and the poisonous acids in tobacco, as their breathing, already disturbed by heart failure, infers aggravated by the volatile toxins affecting their bronchi and lungs. Those with liver conditions whose liver struggle to filter even the most harmless substance are also victims of insidious effects of smoking, as its load of nicotine, ammonia, nitrogenous extracts, minerals, oily and fatty substances, and malic, nitric, and oxalic acids demands abnormal work from the liver, further aggravating the patient's health. It's regrettable that many who ignore or disregard the harmful effects of smoking are already suffering from liver's weakness by food poisoning, still committed the folly of smoking cigarette after cigarettes during convalescence. Ask questions. Since the main organ in defense against the poison of smoke consists of neutralizing the action of nicotine are the filters used in modern cigarettes and cigarette holders not enough to eliminate their toxic aggressiveness? The answer: the use of cigarettes with filters and the, the ends made of cotton, at the ends made of cotton or cigarette holders with filters of various kinds already indicates that the smoker is convinced that smoking can harm him, and therefore, just as a person who plugs their nostrils with a handkerchief before entering an infected place tries to lessen the effects of tobacco toxin through a filter. They fail, however, if a smaller volume of smoke containing fewer toxins enter the system. The body demands the remaining amount it's accustomed to. Thus, the individual ends up smoking twice as many cigarettes as before, compensating for the missing nicotine. Some smokers using filter cigarette holders to avoid the toxic effect of smoking find that the cigarette doesn't satisfy them and becomes weak. They then switch to smoking very strong cigarettes, believing they are ingesting less nicotine because of the filter, when in reality they are being deceived. The amount of poison remains the same as the number of cigarettes smoked with the filter has doubled. When a smoker recognizes the harm that the smoking caused them, the best things to do is quiet together instead of seeking palliative measures for the addiction. But doesn't nature know how to defend itself against the toxic smoke? They answer, Ramatis, if nature didn't know how to defend itself so wisely, when a creature smokes its first cigarette, it's almost certain that it would fail irremediably poisonous, irremediably poisonous. Therefore, as soon as the child commits the folly of starting the vice of smoking, his organism resorts to the most distressing and desperate resource. But in an attempt to make him give up, overloading himself with the excess of deadly nicotine, and also to gain time and neutralize the poison already inhaled through the first cigarette. Hence the reason of the nausea, the abundant salivation, the immediate and coercive vomiting with which the body expels a certain part of the poisons already condensed in the stomach by the bumming of tobacco. After this urgent expulsion through the mouth, cold sweats appear, which, examined in laboratories, reveal that they contain various dangerous substances that were hastily drained by the sweet elimination. In certain cases of organic weakness in the patient, nature still uses other resources, hastening diuresis or producing dysenteric outbreaks with which to eliminate the toxic and aggressive load produced by smoking. If, however, the individual persists in indulging in the vice of smoking, his organism senses it and mobilizes other resources to constitute his future defense. Hence, the gradual and instinctive conditioning that takes place little by little in the individual, allowing him later the consume of a large quantity of cigarettes without being immediately poisoned. However, in the future, other effects of tobacco toxin emerge, and the acute nature of the initial poisonings imperceptibly transforms them into chronic cases in the inveterate smoker, although their body has better control of their poisons. Periodic headaches then appear, generally caused by carbon monoxide, irritation of the bronchi, throat and lungs produced by ammonia or pyridine, and also of the nasal passages due to the head of cigarette ember, which burn the sensitive mucous membranes of the nostrils. There are also the harmful effects of the tar-based derivatives of tobacco, which also act for a long time, attacking the lungs and blackening the teeth, blackening the teeth. In addition to nicotine, which is the most offensive alkaloid containing in tobacco, the incessant absorption of the other aggressive substance we have mentioned also damages all the body's defenses and mainly hinders liver filtration, creating a favorable environment for common colds and constipation. It's finished. Constipation, where is? Even dyspepsia, often cited as a product of the excessive nervousness characteristic of the dynamic man of the 20th century, has smoking as one of its main pathogenic agents, since its true nicotinized saliva that the metabolism of the production and combination of gastric juices is disrupted. The toxins in tobacco also attack the delicate intestinal mucus. They undermine its defense and disrupt digestive functions and enzymatic processes. The poisons in tobacco end up integrating into the bloodstream and from harmful residues constituting a detrimental reserve in the body, whose elimination becomes slow and difficult because the person also overloads themselves with salts, spices, and alcohol, which aggrave the drainage work through the emunctory pathways. Thus, the cleansing and hygiene of the body are delayed, and the smoker is never completely healthy, as they live permanently beset by one or another organic discomfort. It would be advisable in cases of more severe chronic poisoning for the heavy smoker to remain at rest for a few weeks, and even under almost complete fasting, feeding on fruit juices and abstaining from spices and salt. This is an emergency treatment in which rest, minimal food intake, minimal food intake, and a diet free of stimulants. This is an emergent treatment in which rest, minimal food intake, and a diet free of stimulants allow for the full utilization of the functions of the defense and cleansing organs, draining the harmful toxin from the body. I will read again. That is a good act to make time by time. If you don't stop, it's better make this. The poison in tobacco ends up integrating into bloodstream and from harmful residues constituting a detrimental reserve in the body, whose elimination because slow and difficult because the person also overloads themselves with salt, spice, and alcohol, which aggravated the drainage work through the enunctory pathways. Thus, the cleansing and hygiene of the body are delayed, and the smoker is never completely healthy, as they live permanently beset by one or another organic discomfort. Is in front. This is an emergency treatment with rest, minimal, with which rest, minimal food intake, and a diet free of stimulants allow for the full utilization of the functions of the defense and cleansing organs, draining the harmful toxins from the body. To prove the existence of intoxication in a man addicted to smoking, it's enough to dampen a sheet and wrap it around his naked body, so that after sweating, the sheet's exact shape modeled by the nicotine expelled in the sweat can be observed. This is one of the most important proofs that the smoker is permanently intoxicated and vulnerable to the most common diseases. Where is Assuming a man smokes 20 cigarettes a day, what will be the amount of nicotine he absorbs during the smoking? I read this. I don't know why I put this again. I read this. Well, I will read in English, maybe in English I don't read. Assuming man smokes 20 cigarettes a day, what will be the amount of nicotine he absorbs during the smoking? Assuming when we believe that each cigarette contains about 1 gram of tobacco, consequently 20 grams of tobacco are inhaled during the consumption of 20 cigarettes. Based on experiments conducted by our scientists themselves, who state that each gram of tobacco contains approximately 2.5% nicotine, it can be concluded that 20 cigarettes or 20 grams of tobacco contain 50 milligrams of nicotine. This gives total of 350 to 400 milligrams of nicotine per week for someone who only consumes 1 pack of cigarettes per day. However, experiments have already been conducted in your world, demonstrating that the injection of 5 or 7 milligrams of nicotine subcutaneously or intravenously was sufficient to kill rabbits and guinea pigs, while certain weaker birds, upon inhaling the nicotine vapor, succumbed immediately, has the disastrous effect that only 2.5 milligrams of nicotine present is 1 gram of tobacco contained in a cigarette is capable of causing of the novice smoker producing respiration disturbances, abdominal salivation, liver disorders, dizziness, loss of vision and hearing, or even intense headache, vomiting, weakness, cramps, and even dysentery. It's true that over time nature itself becomes accustomed to the increasingly intense poisonous load, but few people know that tremendous effort the human body makes to survive the poisonous impact of smoke, has turned into chronic illnesses that undermine the body as natural defenses and protective mechanisms. One of the best now chronic illness is the famous smoker bronchitis. And to finish, are that caused by disorders specific to bronchial asthma with the presence of bothersome plague, which is a product of the constant irritation caused by the smoking to the respiratory mucosa membranes. The inveterate smoker lives with the pharynx, larynx, bronch, stomach, and intestines overloaded with nicotine and all the toxic byproducts of tobacco, forcing their nature into permanent vigilance in order to remain relative with the phenomena of external physical life. It's now that the tongue has a small elevation, now scientifically as taste buds, Each of these papilla it contains more than 20 receptors of taste buds, which form the end of teeny bundles of nerves with the function or transmitting to the brain the sensation of tongue can become atrophied by the toxins in the smoke that affect the taste buds due to the constant inhalation or cigarette after cigarette. As soon as the smoker finishes meals and drinks their usual coffee, antitoxins are released and refined, uh, stimulated by caffeine, which gives rise to the overwhelming urge to smoke as the existing organic defense demand the traditional toxin to combat it. These are forces permanently mobilized under a vicious automatism, which are even excited by the uncontrolled thoughts of the inveterate smoker. And this is the final from this chapter. I will write here. The next chapter will be chapter 50. Then have a nice night, all of you. And this lecture, I desire that sincerely can let your mind prepare it to understand that not things that turn internal our emotion, sensation, by impossibility to us live a healthy life, is better we change this addiction to be free with the spirit. The spirit have necessity to be free. This text I don't believe that will make all people stop. No. This is gradative, and all people that read this or hear what I was saying about left cigarettes will understand that the suffering will value more than we continue made things that will turn us limited. How a vice from cigarette. And we must turn to be free for all these things of material world. Contrary, we will resgat our soul. And not so good with great, with some presence of people that love us, is this. And have a great great start of week with work. We must learn to live with our work, with happiness, with peace, to get these goals in this planet. Until the next. Thank you.